Union that represents MTA workers on Staten Island, the Amalgamated Transit Union, says that's because of this. Video obtained exclusively by New York One shows bus operators here at the Yukon Depot just waiting for buses to drive. Union President Dan Casella says the MTA isn't fixing mechanical issues.
They cut all the overtime for bus operators, all the overtime for mechanics. And what does that mean? The buses that are behind us are just sitting there.
It's unclear whether it's related to this memo sent out by former transit president Rich Davey in April, putting a moratorium on all unbudgeted overtime.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
When everything breaks at the seams and you feel like you're losing belief. Well, damn it, you just gotta stay strong when it all falls apart and goes wrong. When you feel let down and so lost, and it feels like you can't hold on. Well, damn it, you just gotta stay strong, 'cause sometimes things go wrong, and one day everything's gone, but you can make it out and move on. So damn it, you just gotta stay strong.
Well, we had a video back discussing the situations on Staten Island that we have massive bus delays. And a lot, the experts at the MTA saying, well, that's because of the congestive pricing was not put into effect and stuff like that. And what we found out is that basically this was going on prior to that there was memos put out that no overtime for mechanics. So literally there was not enough buses in service versus the amount of drivers that were available. And the MTA would blame the drivers. They said, well, we don't have enough drivers to all our buses, so they're going to be this delays. And the delays are like 1, 2, up to 3 hours. And we're not talking about the bus lines that run far in between. We're talking mainline buses, similar to the S48, the S44, the S53, which goes from Staten Island to Brooklyn, and many others that run throughout, say from the Staten Island Mall to the St. George's Ferry, far in between. And we're not talking at 11 o'clock at night. We're not talking at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. We're talking about early evening after 6 p.m., between 6 and 9 p.m. We have buses that are supposed to be there like a little after 8 and don't show up until after 10. But now with this school year going on, one thing, and I'll tell you this before we get into this. My experience with Staten Island and the school system and the MTA. Certain schools, not all the schools, but certain ones, the MTA sends about a couple of buses at the end of the school day to sit there to take the students. So it alleviates the traffic from the regular lines. For example, on the 46th line, I forgot what school it is, on the S46, it goes by a school, and literally that bus can jam up hard. But what the MTA has done is they'll put like 2 or 3 buses there, and the kids will get aboard those, and they'll use that. So there's an extra 2 buses on the line when it gets toward the end. So basically, the overage of people on the bus between the regular customers and the school kids are all balanced out. But now what we're hearing from an article at AM New York, that basically the kids are getting stranded as well. And they wonder, like Cash Jordan had put out a video recently. Please do catch it. And I've said this before. They're saying that about almost 50% of riders, whether it's buses or trains or both, are not paying for their fares. And you might say to yourself, well, they've gotten tired of this. There are many issues on there. One of the issues is basically the quality of service. And this is something lacking for quite some time now. When you tell your mechanics no overtime, and there are over 300 buses just sitting there that is a needed repair, you're going to have an issue as far as that. Don't blame congestive pricing on it. Congestive pricing was a price grab, a money grab for you guys, because that basically was going to screw over anyway the outer boroughs, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island. You know, they're saying, well, we're trying to clean the air. But what you were doing is just shifting the bad air to the outer boroughs. So who's that going to help? But this article, Stranded Island. Staten Island parents say MTA buses are leaving kids behind on school days. Think about that for a minute. In Staten Island, we've always been the bastard child to New York City. Always has been. Public transportation, parents and public transportation advocates are fuming as hundreds of students on Staten Island are being left stranded during the school week as they wait for MTA buses that they say are either painfully late or don't arrive at all. Students are stuck waiting up to 2 hours, didn't I tell you, for MTA buses to pick them up in the morning for designated school trips, according to Staten Island parents and community leaders. School trips are bus routes made for the middle and high schools to ensure students get to school on time and have a way home outside of the regular local bus service. New York City is only about 2 weeks into the public school year, but parents say they are fed up with the lack of bus service, which was happening at times last year. See, before congestive pricing, Adrian Papaladaro Arroyo, daughter attends Wagner High School in the borough Mid-Island section. On many mornings, the young student waits up to 2 hours for a bus, often causing to miss her first period class. Her daughter is typically late 4 out of 5 times a week. Sometimes she will give up lunchtime to sit in on other classes to make up for what she has missed in the morning. The school does nothing, and we've tried to get her schedule changed because she was failing math last year due to her never being there, the concerned mother said. Dawn Giovanni's son is also a Wagner High School student. After continuous days of no-show buses, she now drives her son to school. I need to make sure he's present for all his classes, she says. I can't have him be late every day and missing classes that cause him to fail. See, here's the thing. They want to take away the pollution, stop people using cars, but meanwhile, they're not giving us the transportation we need. Officials at the MTA said they're aware of the problem and working on fixing it. We've been notified of the concerns of parents have raised regarding the bus service to schools, and we have directed staff to review and take measures to manage this closer. Frank Anicaro, New York City Transit Senior Vice President of Buses, said. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella, who has been vocal about combating the borough's dysfunctional bus service. Like I said, he says it right, dysfunctional bus service, said that many buses are in disrepair. Simply put, he said the mechanic work to fix them has not been done. Our view is pay people to do it, get more people to do it, he said. You can't just say sorry. According to the data from Fosselli's office, from September 2 to 6, approximately 796 buses needed daily. More than 300 of them were out of service and did not leave the boroughs for MTA garages, which one of them is being shut down. One of the main ones that is well equipped. Why it's being shut down? It's remarkable the way MTA is running their business. Now that school is open and we have all these buses out of service, it's going to get even worse, he said. On September 12th, Wagner High School was scheduled to have 21 buses pick up students at the school, but only 7 showed up. You know how jammed that was. Wagner is hardly the only public school in Staten Island with bus service issue. Tottenville High School, the largest high school in the borough with approximately 4,000 students, does not have reliable bus service either. The MTA has an obligation to meet these service needs, Fasella said, and to add insult to injury, they're planning to close one of the 4 bus depots, which we believe will exacerbate a bad situation, and that is scheduled to happen by the end of the year. On a given day, a high school could have more than 200 or 300 students waiting for a bus that never comes in the morning or afternoon. This has resulted in bus overcrowding, which affects local strap hangers who wait for the buses when their others are too full to board. Philippa, and I'm mispronouncing this, sorry, Grisafari, a Staten Island Express bus and local bus advocate, said the unreliable bus service has become a matter of public and student safety as well. The greater issue that this presents is that you now have hundreds of children walking to and waiting to local bus stops together. She says in the past, this has resulted in a dangerous situation of bullying, fighting, and in one instance, a serious situation with law enforcement officer and a child. We need to do everything in our power to keep our children safe. This is not safe. Giovanni's son saw first-hand brutal fights on the S-74 and the S-54. I'm familiar with the 54 bus. And the buses that stop after school in addition to bus tardiness. This is why she chooses to drive him to school. He didn't like the nasty fights that would break out, she said. Now, I'm familiar with the S-54. Where I used to live, it was part of the S-54 route. I used to take that. If I knew it was running at that point, I would jump off the 46 and jump on the 54. It'll lead me right closer to my home. By the time it gets to me, the kids are already coming off of that bus. And that bus can get crowded. But also, it runs empty from the beginning of the route. It begins up on North Berger, comes around on Broadway, and shoots upward, going to the other side of the island. And the thing about it is that they've cut back on the buses on that particular bus line on the weekends. You know, I don't know if they put it back up again, but it used to be Saturday and Sundays. We never get it anymore. They stopped doing it just to cut costs. And this was before COVID. It was like maybe 5 years before, about 5 years before COVID, that they basically were cutting the S-54 route. And the thing was, they said, oh, not enough people were on that. And no, people were using it. It's just that they didn't want to put those buses. They were beginning to have issues on Staten Island when it came to bus routes. I'll show you how far back these issues were. Mario Bonoviago, vice president of the Port Richmond North Shore Alliance, said that the inefficient MTA bus service is causing problems for residents in the densely part of Port Richmond neighborhood. Buses are the go-to choice for public transportation in Port Richmond and the surrounding areas in a borough with no subway connection to the other boroughs. Only Staten Island Railway crosses the island from northeast to southwest. This is why I say they need to open up the other line. There is another rail line there. It just needs to be repaired. And they can get a train running on that track. And the thing about it is, they could run it from New Jersey to Staten Island to Brooklyn. We have a category of low to middle income families and the working poor in our community. He said, many are home health aides who cannot afford a vehicle, insurance, and registration. They rely on 100% on bus service, which we are lacking. I myself, I don't have a car. I don't use a car. I have to use public transportation. So does my wife. Port Richmond IS-51 had a pattern of violent incidents take place among students waiting for the bus several years ago. I remember that. But things got better after more routes were added. That is until the start of this school year. On the average, only one out of the Schedule 3 has been arriving to pick up kids after school. This school year, buses fell short In the meantime, many Staten Island parents who have the option and time to drive their kids to and from school choose to do so. My son's safety and mental health is my number one priority as a parent, Dia Giovanni said. Why should my son get stressed and worry about whether a bus is going to show up or not? I'll make sure I am available to get my son. I would never abandon him the way the MTA is. I'll tell you this, on the 46 route, when I used to go home on the early days, when I used to work for a retailer out on Staten Island, I would have to pass 2 schools on the way. And the thing about it is, when those MTA buses, and this is about almost 8 years ago, when they didn't show up, they would have to jump on our bus, the regular bus line on the 46, and it would be jam-packed. And I'll tell you this, they are right. Fights occur. People start pushing, shoving. They're coming in the back way. They're coming in the front way. And the thing about it is, it's jam-packed. I said, thank God I have a seat. Because basically, if someone starts hitting me, pickpocketing me, I'm going to be like, elbowing back. I would not want to do that to a kid. But the thing about it is, some of these kids play rough. I'm not advocating violence. But the thing about it is, some of these kids fight, cause issues. There's been many times issues on there. And they fight with the bus drivers all the time. I've seen them spit on the bus driver. If they miss their stop, they get pissed off. But the thing about it is, if they don't ring the bell on time, the bus is going to go whee, right by. This is what happens on a daily basis. And this is not only to the part where basically, and I've said this before, you've had people get on the bus. Some of them don't pay their fare. They have food in their hands and they're eating food. Get to the school, they're still eating their food. And you got the kids, they're bumping into the food gets thrown on the floor. And what ensues afterwards? This has always been a problem. This has been a problem for over a decade now. This has nothing to do with congestive pricing. This has nothing to do with COVID. People are pissed the hell... No, excuse me. Let me rephrase myself. Pissed the fuck off. Because basically, you have a transit system that is not doing their job. Do you understand the amount of people that are... They don't respect that there is a large amount of people that go to and from on this island. There are a lot of people that work in the mall. That's a long stretch. That's the S44, the S61, the S62, I believe the S63. No, 61 doesn't go. 62, 63, 74, I think that also. And there's like a couple of others. 40, the 44, obviously. And that's a long route. Those are long routes. They're not short routes. And you got the 53 that runs from Port Richmond all the way into Brooklyn to the R station on, I think it's 86th Street. The 86th Street, which is the last stop for the R train. That is a transfer point to get into Manhattan. If if the ferry is down, sometimes that happens, or if the ferry is too crowded, or if the ferry is delayed, and that's happened. That has happened before, because many times, and I'll tell you this, many a times that the dispatchers have held all the bus lines at St. George's if the ferry is late. In other words, they want to make sure the passengers get on board, but meanwhile, you have people on the ground on the stops along the routes waiting for the bus, and it might be 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes late, up to an hour, depending on what's going on with the ferry. Sometimes it's a docking issue. Sometimes they're leaving late from Manhattan, and that happens on a constant basis, especially during rush hour when they're supposed to be running very plentiful. Because, during rush hour, you're getting them, I believe, every 15 minutes still. And that's still going on. But now our kids are not getting the bus service they are. And I'll tell you this, the later it gets, especially now that it gets darker in the fall, winter, a lot faster now, you got the kids out at night. You don't know who's out there. And especially when you have a lot of these gangs out there, Tren de Agua, MS-13, that are out there. And we do have them here on Staten Island. We do, especially around the Port Richmond area, that there are some issues out there. You keeping the kids, dangerously out there, and they're not supposed to be. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts about this. I mean, we've discussed this before. This is an issue. It's Staten Island, another reason for Staten Island to succeed from New York City. There are about 1,000 issues that Staten Island has that we get screwed over every time from City Hall, that it doesn't respond properly. Like I said, we could have a subway system here that would allow proper traffic and would bring good business. Remember, and I'm going to put this in perspective before we end this. We have supermarkets opening up. We have theaters opening up. We have restaurants. We're getting like a Raising Cane's and an Aldi are just now opening up here in Staten Island. There was a long line at Aldi. Started at 4 a.m. in the morning. The Aldi opens up at 9 here on Staten Island. There's a lot going on to rebuild this island. That's why we have a lack of real estate. I'm surprised that we were able to properly sell the home we live in on there, and they did a nice job on that because there have been so many things going on. There have been people that haven't been able to sell their homes and buy homes. It's insane. It is truly insane. So let me know in the comments your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like, share this video, and make sure hit that button down there. Subscribe. That's right. Hit subscribe. We really do appreciate it. I know you have many choices here on YouTube and Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey, but you clicked on our video, and we do really appreciate it, and we thank you for that. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.